Thank you all for joining us today at this hearing. The subcommittee will come to order, and we'll have a hearing today entitled Body Cameras, Can Technology Increase Protection for Law Enforcement Officers and the Public? We'll have two panels. The first panel will be Senator Scott, my colleague from South Carolina. I'll make a very brief opening statement and turn it over to Senator Whitehouse. I know Chairman Grassley and Senator Corn may want to say something, but anybody can if they'd like. We have this hearing today at the request of Senator Scott. As most of you know, there's been a lot of discussion in this country about how to protect the public and law enforcement officers when force is involved, and the idea of body cameras for all of our police officers, not only to protect them but to protect the public, is a hot topic right now, and Senator Scott has been one of the leaders in this area. The incident in North Charleston, which I think most of us have seen videos of, is a good indication of how video is priceless in situations like this. So there are a lot of proposals up here on Capitol Hill to have grants and pilot programs about outfitting our law enforcement community with body cameras, and that's the purpose of this hearing today, to see which would be the best way forward. So, Senator Whitehouse? I'll wrap it up here. Y'all have been very informative. I've learned a lot. So, number one, Ms. Miller, in the dash cam recording history, has that worked pretty well as far as dash cams?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's been a lot of success with dash cams. I think it's a good way for us to kind of look to body cameras and see what they can do. I do think there are a lot of differences, and so it's hard to, we always advise agencies, you know, you can incorporate things from your dash cam policy, but we wouldn't recommend relying on it.
You have to go much further.
Yeah, exactly.
Body cameras,
exactly, but I do think they can be instructive.
Has any jurisdiction ever outlawed a dash camera after it came into being for any reason?
No, I have talked to places that actually there was one agency that I can remember that ended up not getting rid of their dash cams because of the expectations that the courts started having, and it was kind of the CSI effect that was discussed earlier. They found that their officers, you know, credibility was being kind of undermined.
Just one.
Yeah, just one that I've ever talked to.
Mr. Bruder, dash cams in South Carolina, they're pretty common?
They are common. They are mostly required by law, but we're still having a problem with getting the funding for that.
Would you say 80%, 70%?
Probably 70 to 80% of patrol vehicles, not all law enforcement vehicles, but patrol vehicles that do traffic enforcement.
How do they store the data or keep the data?
They have methods that they do that within the local agency there. They can go back and they can either download that through a cloud means, or they can go in and physically connect to a computer.
So how much
download.
More expensive would it be with body cameras? Would it be exponentially more expensive?
Based on the sheer number of hours and amount of video that you're getting, it's going to be exponentially greater. Most of our agencies have been looking at these and trying to get different cost examples, and a lot of them have come back with the number of $100 per month per officer to store data.
$100 per month per officer.
Yes,
Ms.
sir.
Miller, what's a guesstimate is how much it would cost the nation if every agency, every law enforcement official had a body camera?
To store the data?
Just to
in general?
buy the camera, store the data.
Oh gosh, I am
whole package.
I am terrible at math, so I hate to even try. But
okay.
you know, I've talked to agencies that spend millions per year on storage alone.
Try to find that answer for us?
Yep, we can definitely look into that.
Do you agree about $100 per month per officer sounds right as far as storage?
That's I heard that. I've heard $800 per officer per year.
Okay.
You know, so it depends on the size of the agency, how many videos they're shooting,
Gotcha.
that sort of thing.
Mr. Weir, you talked about look at this as an evidence device. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So chain of custody, all would be very important.
Absolutely, Senator.
Have
yes.
you had a problem using dash camera evidence?
We have not. In Colorado, the dash cameras are used routinely by the Colorado State Patrol, and then it's left up to individual police departments as to whether or not they also want to use dash cameras.
But from a prosecutor's point of view, this hasn't been a difficult tool to employ?
Not with respect to dash cameras, Senator. It's, once again, the complexity is logarithmic when you start talking about body cameras.
I got you. But I just want to make sure that what we use is good to go.
Yeah.
Mr. Henderson, the only reason we're probably having this hearing is because of these private videos that have shocked everybody. You agree with that?
I do.
And in those cases, we're glad we have video evidence. I mean, you've got the North Charleston cases in litigation, so I'll be careful of what I say. But in that case, only God knows what the story would have been.
No, you're absolutely right. It's these private videos that have really motivated the public debate. And as I said earlier, you deserve great credit for convening this conversation.
On balance, if you could get the right protocols to protect privacy and make sure the officer is using the camera in an appropriate manner, do you think it's best for the nation to go down this road?
Without question. I think it's absolutely essential.
Does everybody agree with that? If you don't, speak up.
Senator, I think going
I'm
down...
not saying a federal mandate, but just for law enforcement in general.
I think it can be an effective tool, but once again, we've got to be very careful, primarily on the back end.
No, I got you. All the problems are real that you've identified, but is this something worth pursuing? Is the benefit greater than the cost to you, Mr. Weir?
I think potentially yes.
Okay, so that's common ground for everybody? The benefit is worth the cost if we can do it right. Does anybody know if the Capitol Hill police wear body cameras?
I think they are looking into it, but I don't think that they wear them now.
Seems to me that if we were that concerned about it as members of Congress, we would look into that. So I intend to do that. Very much appreciate your testimony. One last question. If, let's say there's a grant program, would you agree that having certain criteria, that you've got to do certain things before you get the grant would make sense, Mr. Henderson?
I think that is also absolutely essential.
Mr. Bruder, would that be okay with you?
Yes, sir, absolutely. I'll take that opportunity just to point out that in the current grant funding, I'm not sure that data retention is covered, and obviously we pointed out today that's the most expensive part.
So you wouldn't want to spend money on a program that wasn't sound. So having conditions on the grant makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense to you, Mr. Weir?
It certainly does, Senator, yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes, it does.
So a block grant is probably not the way to go here. Have some conditions attached to it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all very much. I've learned a lot, and the hearing will be adjourned. We'll leave the record open for 1 week for further questions, and any information you want to provide with the committee. You've really done the country a great service. Thank you all.